My first question, could you please explain the pre-procedure admission process for egg collection?
Yes, so briefly I'll explain the IVF stimulation, which leading up to the egg collection. So let's say you have a period. On first day of your period, you do blood test, tell your nurses, and then they ask you to start injections to stimulate the ovaries. The stimulation daily injections last approximately 10 days, and you have a monitoring blood tests and scans. Once you see a lot of large follicles, they're ready for the trigger shot, then you do trigger shot. So that's the stimulation part of first stage, which is stimulation part of ovaries that lasts approximately 10 days, 8 to 10 days. So then once you do the trigger, approximately 36 or 37 hours after the trigger, eggs will be fully mature. So if you delay, gradually you may start ovulating. So, and this window is fairly large. It's not exactly 36 or 37 hours. So eggs goes into the maturation phase maybe after 33, 34 hours and stay mature maybe until 38, 39, even 40 hours. So, but in the middle is a 36, 37 hours after the trigger, which means you do the trigger shot 9 p.m., let us say Saturday night, then Monday morning 9 a.m. or 9:30 a.m. you should do egg collection. So you do trigger shot, then nurses send instructions saying now you wait 36 hours before egg collection. So you don't do any injections, you just wait. And then you prepare for egg collection procedure. So you establish where this clinic is, where the operating theater is, or procedure room is. So then you receive a phone call from the nurses, theater nurses, who will explain procedures for admission. So what you need to do for admission. So what preparations you need to make for admission. So you find out where the hospital, car parking, and all this things, payments, and all the stuff. So all this logistical stuff, so that you don't have any stress on the day. So you have to do it leading up to the day of egg collection. So then you need to fast for egg collection, because if you don't fast, if you have any vomiting during the procedure, then you may have an aspiration, so which can be very serious. That's why very strictly you need to fast approximately 6 hours before the egg collection procedure. So, and that fasting instruction, you need to follow your clinic's instruction. Different clinics may have different instructions. Generally, you should fast at least 6 hours before egg collection procedure. So, and then you get all these fasting instructions, then leading up to the egg collection in the morning or afternoon of the egg collection, you get admitted to the hospital a couple of hours before the procedure. So then first thing happens is you go through like normal admission process. The nurses will go through all the questionnaires. So then you get admission to pre-procedure room. So before your procedure, you see different people, usually admission nurse will be coordinating everything, but you should see 3 professionals. So your fertility specialist, your embryologist or scientist, and also anesthetist. So your fertility specialists, if they have already explained a collection procedure previously, they don't go into detail, they briefly explain and get the consent. If you don't have an explanation of a collection procedure, they will explain the procedure, then they will ask you to sign a consent. And very importantly, your fertility specialist and scientist make sure that your trigger timing was correct. That's very critical. So if your trigger timing was wrong, or if you had any problem with the trigger, you need to tell before you do a collection. Let us say, for example, you triggered very early, let us say much earlier than planned time, you might have already ovulated. If you triggered late, you can do a collection, but you may not be able to get mature eggs. So you should tell exact time of your trigger and what trigger injections you used. And so that needs to be verified, usually verified, definitely verified by embryologist and also verified by fertility specialist. So, and if you have any question, the address, then your embryologist will explain. So what's going to happen in terms of handling of your gametes and embryos. Gamete means egg is gamete and sperm is gamete. They are not embryos yet. Embryo means once fertilized, they become embryo. So they will explain how your gametes will be handled. So what will happen behind the scenes in the lab. So they explain egg collection procedure. So they explain that if they are doing IVF, how they perform the IVF procedure. If they're doing ICSI, they will explain how they do ICSI, then how the embryo is created, and how you get informed about how many embryos created, in incubation and embryo transfer. They go through everything, what happens in the lab, so before you do egg collection. So then anesthetist goes through anesthetic questions, all this health questionnaire, health risks, and if you have any medical problems, any allergies, any previous difficulties with anesthetic, then you need to tell the anesthetist. So then they review everything, make a plan for that, and then they will explain how they're going to put you to sleep. So generally, we'll probably discuss as part of one of the questions. So different types of anesthetics you can use egg collection. So essentially, they will explain whatever anesthetic they're using for egg collection. Then after that, you move to procedure room, and you have egg collection.